Hafa, everybody. I'm Sabrina Salas Matsunani, live here at the Guam Congress building in Haganu, where Congressman San Nicolas has just wrapped up his very first congressional address, here with Chris Barnett and former Congressman Robert Underwood. And we want to I know you just left. What is your immediate reaction to his
Well,
speech?
it was a very long speech, and it was a lot of self-congratulatory stuff and a lot of stuff from C-SPAN. And so all of that is very interesting and very instructive. But of course, people want to know what has actually emerged from all of this activity. So 1365 still hasn't passed the Senate. And, that is basically a non-controversial corrections bill. And, so it's the productivity, I think, that people are looking for. And he's positioned to do a lot of good things, and he can give a good speech, and he can make a good presentation, but we're waiting to see something that happens.
Congressman, let's talk real quick about the A-list player comment he had made, and going back to him taking the vice chairmanship of that Financial Services Committee, which he's made a big to-do about. But the returns on it, A-list players, what does Guam get from that relationship?
Yeah, the notion that of being an A-list player means that you're in a position to do something, and so I'm just waiting for that. There may be something that comes out of it. The vice chairmanship of a committee is not well understood. It's an honorary title. He doesn't take the committee when the chairman doesn't handle it.
And one thing you did mention how the House Financial Services Committee was an A-list committee, but at the same time, he didn't say anything about the House Armed Services Committee, which you would think would also be an A-list committee, of which we're not a member of.
Yeah, well, he made the choice. So he made the choice to go for financial services rather than go for armed services. Whether that's the right choice or not for Guam remains to be seen.
Is there any other final takeaways that you got from his address?
Well, I mean, we'll see how the speech works out. It's the productivity, Obviously, he gave an okay speech. It was very lengthy. His commentary about export import bank left me at the third export. I missed out.
Well, thank you so much. I know you've got someplace to be. Thanks a lot. That was former Congressman Robert Underwood, where we're here at the Guam Legislature, Guam Congress building, where Congressman San Nicolas has just wrapped up his congressional address, his very first one.
What was the biggest issue for you that you were able to present?
It was just a matter of getting all of our issues together and lining them up so they're not overlapping on each other. That's one of the really hard things that we need to watch out for, because in the Congress, if you do too many things at once, it's going to get lost in all the noise because it's so busy out there. And so we're just able to focus things through, and that's kind of what we outlined. But our biggest work has been focused on these war claims. And so we're right here at the finish line, and we're hopeful that we can get it over.
And you did not shy away from speaking to that with the governor signing the local legislation on Friday. You addressed it.
I mean, it's the reality. We're just going to be upfront with our people, and hopefully things work out, but we're just going to keep doing the work.
I had a question regarding your comments regarding the House Armed Services or House Financial Services Committee being an A-list committee and Guam being an A-list player. I did want to ask your thoughts on not being on the House Armed Services Committee, and if you felt that it wasn't or isn't an A-list committee.
That's actually not my classification. That's actually an understanding in the Congress. That's why we showed the video of Congressman Mark Takano. The House Armed Services Committee is a very, very important committee. But as far as how it's regarded in the internal workings of the Congress, the A-list committees are Appropriations, Ways and Means, Financial Services, and Committee on Rules. And so we want to make sure that everything is done in a way that we're speaking to the Congress, the committees that we're pursuing. But we're left out on the Armed Services Committee. We have many freshman members who are good friends of ours that allow us to channel into that. We still brought in over $300 million in the recent NDAA. So I think that we're expanding our reach, and the Armed Services Committee is always going to be very important for Guam because of our ties to the U.S. military.
Your speech, it talked a lot about, it was a recap basically of what you've done over the past, your first year in Congress. But I noticed that on GovTrack US, on on their website, you introduced a total of, 10 bills this year? Is that correct? About 10 bills this year. But the probability of them being enacted into law is 3%. How confident are you that any of your bills will be enacted?
Well, the probability of us passing the House when we first introduced 1365 was about 9%. We passed the House. The probability of us passing the Senate is about 21%. So the key to understanding the value of your representation isn't in what websites tell you, it's in the outcomes. And if we're able to get things passed with such odds stacked against us, that just speaks to the value of the representation.
Well, with the governor signing Bill 181 into law, how confident are you at this point that HR 1365 will be signed into law?
The Congress is still in recess, so when we get back, we're going to find out.
Well, you had called it a sham, am I correct?
Well, right now there is not even an MOU of Treasury. I mean, we outlined all the work that we've done. Letters from Treasury, letters from Interior, all the committees. So, without seeing anything coming from the administration side, all we have is a bill that's been signed with absolutely no federal backing to it. You've seen here today all the federal work we put into 1365. There's no shortcuts. You're going to have to do that same kind of work if you're going to try and work a different angle. So that's the reality that we're dealing with right now.
The governor has indicated
repeal of 181 is possible.
I made a very strong case that if we use that money for the Chamorro Land Trust Fund, we can survey 9,000 properties and get them out to our people and still have 1365 in play. So I'm hoping that by giving a very reasonable alternative to our local lawmakers, we can come to terms and do what's right for our people. We don't need to be clashing like this. We can have HR 1365 be the federal war claims vehicle, and we can have $14 million for the Chamorro Land Trust and finally get all those properties.
But is it a realistic possibility at this point? It's been signed into law.
I think that people are reasonable people. When presented with reasonable alternatives, I wish they had called us in to allow us to express these kind of possibilities when they're first entertaining the measure. But that's what happens when you stifle discussion. But now that we brought it up, nothing has officially happened yet with Bill 181 or the public law that it is now. We can still fix things, and I'm hopeful that by presenting the alternative, as attractive as it is, even politically, that we'll get it done.
any final message to the people of Guam?
It's just so good to be home. DC is so cold. I'm an island boy, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. All right, that was Congressman Michael San Nicolas talking with us and other media about his first year in Congress. We're going to go ahead and walk around and see who else we can get reaction from.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
All right, so your reaction to the Congressman's address?
Well, I'm really quite surprised. It's unfortunate that Delegate San Nicolas waited so long to the U.S. Senate to act on H.R. 1365. And that's why the legislature in Guadeloupe acted right away. As you know, that during our visit to D.C., we were told that his office never once was approached by him to lobby the effort. So it's very disingenuous on some of the things that he said in there, and it's unfortunate. He asked for us to be put politics aside when he never recognized the efforts of the governor, as well as the Republican caucus, not just the Republican Party. And for him to mention Jerry Crisostomo was first in my book that I've ever heard that he even spoke to Jerry Crisostomo. But I guess the biggest elephant in the room, though, was a question as to the allegations that were made toward him on ethics issues, as well as the campaign funds. Many people want to know what's going on, and for him to completely disregard those accusations, the people of Guam need to know what's going on. We're supposed to trust our congressman, but it wasn't to fruition. And I'm just really surprised that, especially when there was a report that was put out recently about his attendance in Congress, is staggering. I'm surprised even he had video footage to show, considering that came out. So,
But Senator, I know that you didn't expect Congressman San Nicolas to come out here and say, hey, I have the second worst voting record in the Congress. So I know these are huge elephants in the room, but I thought it was masterful that he went through a 2-hour speech without even mentioning these things that everybody is talking about.
exactly, and that's probably one of the reasons why that everything that came out of his mouth is very questionable, even to the point, he has talked on and on and on like he did when he was in the legislature. What did he produce while he was in the legislature for 6 years that he boasted about? now he's in Congress, and now he's talking about changing laws on Guam instead of what he can do in Congress, what he's been voted in by the people. I really expected much more from this congressman, and I didn't see it here today. No, I'm optimistic and hope that maybe later on this year, well, it's obvious since the allegations came out, he's now actually starting to do some kind of research. So I'm hoping that it may change this coming year. It is an election year, so he's got to do something, right?
And what an announcement today, just before the speech, that you were going to be taking over as a minority leader, as Senator Will Castro makes a bid for Congress.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with the caucus, continuing on what Senator Castro has brought in, but ensuring that what we do in the legislature is fair for both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, and it's been too one-sided. The Democrats have been controlling it, has been like putting muzzles on us. It's been very, very difficult for us to move bills through. So I'm going to advocate for that. I'm going to push for it, and I have no fear in calling people out who have not been fair in this legislature.
So, Senator, basically you're saying that's going to kind of be a different approach than the former minority leader, Senator Will Castro, had. Was he got a lot of criticism for, I think people were calling him a loyal opposition, and that he wasn't questioning the administration enough on things that you would expect someone from the other party to be questioning them on.
Well, people are different, you know. I'm a different person. I do things differently from Senator Castro. You know, he's a little bit mellow, you know, and plays cautious. You know, he's caution to the wind. For me, it's easier for the people to understand by just being straight to the point and blunt. And that's the kind of leadership that I'm going to put as a minority leader.
And you have had some blunt moments on session floor that I've watched. So thank you so much for taking your time for meeting with us. And now we have Senator Therese Chalahi.
Right. So, Senator Chalahi, I thought it was pretty interesting at the tail end of the congressman's speech. We'll get to your reaction on the whole speech, but the proposal that he made, and that they repeal the local war claims effort and instead use that money to survey Chamorro Land Trust lands. What did you make of that? That was quite a curveball.
Well, I think if you separate the two, I agree with both.
Right.
I definitely agree that we need to do whatever we can for the war claims, but we've always had on the table that we should do what we can to survey those Chamorro Land Trust lands. We've got excess revenues this year. That's different than the money set aside for the war claims, which is lapses. So I think that should not be off the table, that we should consider getting that done finally after all these years. And I'm glad the congressman pointed out that land takings and land expansion, that has to be acknowledged, and that we can't allow any more of that to happen.
Right, and he did say that he supports the military buildup wholeheartedly, but that he wants it to be done in a way that the military doesn't take any more land or occupy any more land that they already do.
Yes, and I think that's why we are very vocal. I think right now their footprint grows, and despite the claims that they're not going to take any more land, their footprint continues to grow, and I think we need to really call them to the table on that. I'm glad he talked about RICA. I think that's very important. I think the compensation for RICA is very timely because of the cancer we're facing, and the amount of money that is going to bring in their health care on the island. We really need that right now.
Overall, I got to ask your opinion of the speech. What caught your ear?
Well, I think you can't deny that he's working hard. So I appreciate that. I think, of course, I don't appreciate the parts where he wants to dictate how we're going to spend local funds, but I just think we all have our roles to play. But I definitely appreciate. I'm open to any idea, so I appreciate the ideas, but I just appreciate more communication and hard work. So.
Yeah, and I think that those of kind of the communication or lack of it has been what has made the relationship sour, I think, with the administration and the legislature. But let's go back to talking about things like the buildup. And you talk about communication, where we had the congressman shout out the Chamber of Commerce and the Military Buildup Committee. He's entertained them numerous times. Per tell you, the Texan couldn't even get a phone call. So when you talk about communication and opening up the table to both sides of the dialogue, where are we on that with the congressman's office?
I think all branches of the government right now could really step up their communication with the people of Guam. That's really who we need to communicate with, and No one can hide behind doors. No one should be able to ignore parts of the media, parts of the public. That just shouldn't happen. I mean, we can't, we're all dedicated ourselves to be public servants. We should do that. And we've got, he's got 1 year left, I've got 1 year left, all of us senators do. We've got to dedicate ourselves to that. I think we're never going to go wrong if the people of Guam know everything there is to know. We're never going to go wrong that way.
Well, I'm pretty sure there are some who would disagree, and some of them might even be your colleagues. But thank you so much.
Obviously. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Therese Terlahi. Again, here at the Guam Congress Building. Happy New Year, Senator.
Happy New Year to you.
All right, Sabrina. So I think, are we wrapping this up, or?
Yes, we are wrapping it up. We just got a copy of the Congressman's speech, which we will be posting on our website, and the links will probably be on our Facebook page. But I think we're done from here. One thing I noticed that, typically during these addresses, it's usually packed, right? And you saw.
We didn't see. Let's just cut to the chase. We didn't see. Hardly the cabinet was here. I don't know if they were. We can guess all day where they told to come, or maybe the writing's on the wall and they know, like, okay, governor didn't get along with the congressman, probably don't have to go. But you're right, it was sparse.
Yeah,
Another interesting thing I saw was that, let's just call it the Republican side of the room was the one that was clapping most of the night. So it was definitely a very divided audience. And I felt in some ways.
People in there were his supporters.
Right,
So,
which is what you want to do.
yeah, right. So 2-hour-long speech, done.
That's it, and definitely, delivered in a way. He's a unique congressman. He's definitely doing things his way, and delivered in a way that we've never seen. I've never seen so much YouTube during a, congressional address. So.
All right. Well, we're done from here.
We're done, and thank you so much for watching this historic first congressional address from Delegate Michael San Nicolas for Sabrina Salas Metanani at the Guam Congress Building. I'm Chris Barnett.